Those who are well enough to, anyway.
On my right-hand
It's
side.
no surprise, and go ahead, line up right over there. Everyone should already be aware that there's been some goings-on as of late in camp. I'm sure you've heard the rumors and the whispers, so I owe it to you to come straight forward with you. I'm not going to butter it up or sugarcoat it. It's a tough situation we're in, as you could probably tell by the combative tones between myself and Major Holman, Captain Hawk, and Dr. Capella. There's been a very large group of armed individuals that came to the camp the other day. Most of them wore black clothing. They all had white armbands on, and they called themselves the Free People's Liberation Army, or something to that effect. They seem to be untrained civilians, poorly disciplined, but dangerous, very dangerous nonetheless with the numbers they had. They threatened to annihilate every living person within this camp, raze it to the ground, burn it, and move on. And I'll be perfectly honest, we couldn't have done a damn thing to stop them if that's what they wanted to do. The firepower we had, we could have taken a good chunk of them with us, but we never would have stopped them. So I asked them what it was they wanted. They appear to have quite a few issues with Dr. Capella. I made it clear to them that she is not a bargaining chip and she will not be taken from us, so they started making other demands. They wanted us to cease any criminal investigation, especially those involving their people, but we are not to detain or arrest anyone without their say-so, especially not to restrain. In addition to this, there's also the matter of training. They seem to be afraid of a large army of people known as the Outworlder, or the Outworld. I'm not really sure what these people call themselves, to be honest. Some kind of gang of criminals. Off-world? Yeah, something like that. I don't really know what's up with the name. Maybe it's a gang name. I really don't know. But all I know is these people are apparently dangerous enough that this large people's army of liberation is apparently afraid of them. If they're big and bad enough to make these people afraid, then I don't want to mess with them. I don't want to cross them. Nevertheless, the price for our heads, the price for peace, was that we would work with these people to some degree. There was a tentative compromise that they are permitted to come to the camp, and that they will send small groups of individuals to receive training, safety training, weapons training, physical training from us. I'm still in talks with Major Holman, Major Holman, Captain Hawk, regarding the validity of that statement, and if that will actually go forward. As of this time, it is tentative. Nothing is written in stone yet, but that's what's on the table. We're basically going to need to negotiate for our the safety of this camp, and for peace. If we spit in their face and simply outright reject their offer, then we're looking at all-out war, and I'm supremely confident in every one of your abilities, your training, your discipline, but I don't have any confidence that we would win that war with all these people. And I'm in no hurry to throw your lives away for a fruitless cause. We're here for a much greater purpose. The future of mankind depends on the success of this mission. That is why we are here, and not cowering at home or taking the first chopper out of here. We need to succeed, not only for ourselves, but for our loved ones, for our families back home, for the other humans who inhabit this earth. If we don't defeat this thing, it falls to who? To civilians? To traitors? We must succeed. Failure is not an option. Further orders will be coming. I'll need to discuss this with the Major and High Command, but I expect you all to stand ready. Those of you who have experienced symptoms of radiation sickness or battle fatigue, do what you need to do to get yourselves treated. Get plenty of rest. Make sure that you're ready to go if the order comes down. Are there any questions? Yes.
Sir, if we believe that personally we find it morally wrong to train these civilians, can we ask to be excluded and for somebody else to take our place? I feel like some people's personal history may make them morally against training civilians.
Well, you wouldn't be the only one, to be perfectly honest. It wouldn't only be against our moral judgment, it would be against our principles as United Nations. It's against our charter and against our guidelines. But given the choice between that and our deaths, I suppose if you personally objected and bowed out of duty, then I would have no choice but to pass over you for that particular task. Yes, Sergeant?
Thank you, sir.
So, what it seems to me, relating to the conversation we had previously in the tent about the evacuation, I mean, isn't this now enough of a reason for the evacuation, sir? I mean, what, we're supposed to choose between two evils? Is that...
I see your point, but inclined to be perfectly blunt. Well, what's the alternative here? If we chop her out because we've been placed in a hard situation, a situation where we've been given two choices, both of which violate our conscience and our moral compass and our guidelines, I completely agree. We could throw in the towel, but the problem is still out there. The mission is still out there. If we leave, there'll be no one here to pursue that mission, and the fate of this country, our families, the fate of future generations for decades, centuries to come, it could all be snuffed out. We must make the hard choices here. We're talking about nothing less, let me be perfectly clear, than the extinction of the human race. I don't mean to sound melodramatic, but it's come to that. We all have to look ourselves in the eye and ask ourselves one question. How far are we willing to go? What are we willing to do to ensure the success of this mission and the safety of mankind? Are we going to bow out because we're afraid for our lives? Are we going to bow out because our honor is in question? Are we going to bow out because the guidelines prevent or inhibit our mission? I agree. We're in a shitty situation. I wish we weren't here. It's my fault we're even in this situation. If I'd done a better job picking a location or manning the walls or a better job with diplomacy, maybe those people wouldn't have come to our gates in the first place. We wouldn't have to make these decisions. But the fact is, we're here. We've made our bed, now we have to lie in it. I'm not ready to call it quits, I'm not ready to chop her out, and I'm not ready to call this mission a failure. Is there anything else? Major? Anything from you? It's all out on the table now?
Some of you already know my feelings on the situation with the People's Liberation Army. My feelings for it hasn't changed not once or in any way. I'm still gonna try my hardest to avoid any of us breaking our guidelines. To be frank, sir, if we start going...
Sound resumed.
God damn it!
Fuck's sake.
God damn it, this
I was
bullshit!
about to drop the hammer.
Timing.
Drop the
I was
F-bomb!
about to drop the hammer.
Oh man.
User joined your channel.
That's so
The
dumb.
fucking timing of
User
that
joined
shit.
your channel.
Fun
Murphy's
detected.
fucking law.
God damn it.
Fun detected.
We heard your dog scratching.
It sounded like you were fucking whacking it off or something. Like what the fuck?
I was pissing myself laughing.
Well, it was a very encouraging speech.
I was pissing. I don't know how you weren't laughing, to be honest. I was laughing.
Servers up again?
Yeah. I forgot what I said now. I was lost in a moment. What did I say last? Yeah, but I forgot what was the sentence I was saying. I completely forgot now.
What's your
I
fire
think the
when you
next
lost
was
again?
that you were gonna drop a beat
No, like, oh, ideally. What was the last thing
and
I
then
said?
wrap the
Oh
rest
yeah,
of your
rap
speech.
battle. Yo, this
While no one's here, I'm gonna go take this teddy bear quickly.
Wow. Your addiction is a bit scary.
Dude. Dino, you dealt with my chicken addiction for months, so.
Caca.
Caca.
What?
Okay,
Wow.
but for real, did anyone remember what last thing I said in character? Because I forgot.
No. Something about, but to be honest, Colonel,
Yeah.
I think you wanted to say something like your mom or something.
if you do this, I am going to be known as Colonel Holman and Major Hawk.
And then you pull your gun out.
And
You
Private
are going to be
Hawk.
lynched. Be warned.
He's dead.
Oh, that would
Aw.
be interesting.
And then fucking
Don't
Ripley
think
for
this is
some
how
reason,
military
you know, because he's a super soldier. Because Ripley, you know, like Elizabeth. But let's not talk about that.
Oh, Mercy, did you see me in chat? Check chat again.
Oh my God, what? Check chat, what?
She knows sign language now.
Don't get me started.
By the way, I'm streaming.
Drop that so we don't get angered here. Is everybody in yet?
I think so.
Yes, Helenda's not in.
Wait, are you what? Are you? It's not my fault. Okay.
Wait,
I'm
are you not?
playing
Oh.
again.
Tell me you're on the waiting list.
Who is Wyoming on Slack?
Me.
Is
Levy.
I thought it was like some sort of
Let's continue.
Swedish person in our group. I was
No,
like,
it's what I want my farm name to be, but I don't want to spend the money.
It's hard to get back in the
what,
mood.
€5?
Oh, no, I don't have a pen, I'm sorry.
To the right of us is one behind the wall.
While we'll do that quickly, I'm going to go to the toilet quickly because I'm about to explode. Okay?
Nobody else move.
Piss in a
Punch in the
bottle. You can aim down it, okay?
Excuse
We
me?
can't. Piss in a bottle! Say you're gonna go to a shop that was only 1 minute away from you. Took like 30 minutes to go there.
You mean 9 hours? Really?
True that. Yeah, it actually took him 9 hours to go to the shop. That
Aw,
was
my
1 minute away
spotter.
from him.
Dude, fuck your spotter.
Okay, be safe.
But it's so cute.
You're like the casualest looking soldier ever.
Can help you look for a pen.
Does he like my tactical beanie?
I like his fucking beanie, man. He looks like he's from like Spec Ops or something.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He's a fucking private first class.
Looks like an edgy teenager because he's wearing that beanie. That's what he looks like. He looks like a fucking emo.
Emo
What do you-
kid, yeah, exactly.
Emo
do you think?
soldier.
Fucking skater, bro.
I'll go
I still love how everyone
I don't take
thinks
that as
I'm
an
a commanding
insult.
officer.
So.
be right back.
It's like a scout cap.
Every civilian thinks I'm a commanding officer because I wear like desert camo. No one else does. He's great.
I think you look like a pajama.
I liked when you had your Dungeons and Dragons cosplay earlier.
And I got told off. Even
Cor-
I was off duty
Okay,
and I
everyone
got
is
told
back.
off.
Wait,
No,
no.
missing Matt.
Wait. Oh yeah.
Oh, this building is not rendering in for me. It had walls for a sudden. All of a sudden.
Yeah, I can, like every time I load it in, I can see through everything, like, it's like a hack. It's weird. And then it like loads everything in.
Where's Matt in game? There's
Huh.
the game
Matt.
now.
Killing zombies.
What? Oh, there's Matt. Oh, look at him. Look at him. Come on, Shorty. Get your ass over here. Come on. Come on. Come on. Quicker, old man. No, wrong way, you
what?
fucking dementia patient. Jesus.
Let's get back in captain.
Here comes.
Give me just a quick moment to
Thought he was gonna kill
get my
me.
brain of thought.
That's why I say, like, keep the OC out so we can get in the mood.
Give me like a couple of seconds to get my brain of thought of where I was.
And go.
All eyes on Dino.
Sound resumed.
And to be frankly honest, Colonel, If we start by going beyond our guidelines and going off the book as the captain of the NATO forces suggested, I will no longer be following your command.
That's where you draw the line. Smallest infraction, and you're ready to turn your back on mankind.
Colonel, this
Do I
is
need to
not
remind
a
you of the
small
stakes, Major?
fraction. This is... I know, I'm very clear. I'm quite aware of the stakes that we're currently in, Colonel. And the stakes around us. But if we start picking sides in conflicts, choosing one side or the other, especially when we haven't even seen the other party or heard anything from them, we start going against everything that we're supposed to stand for. That is where I draw the line.
Fair enough. Well, I think it's not an unreasonable caveat to add to that. Once we start not entirely adhering to guidelines, unless we have a gun pointed to our head with the threat of imminent execution if we refuse. I don't think that's an unreasonable caveat to make.
Colonel, like I said before, we no longer really have control of our situation anymore. For the sake of it, we haven't really had the control in most of the encampments we have been in. And it's just getting harder and harder by each day that passes, with injuries, personnel going missing, people being wounded. Even the basic of keeping the camp security is becoming a struggle. Even if we were to be per se allied with one party, and then automatically become hostile towards the other party, which we have a little information of, how long would it take, for sake, before our ally turns against us, as they have made it specifically clear if we go against them in any way, they would trample us down?
You're right,
How
we have
long
no way of
do you
knowing.
think we can continue to stand there?
If the point you're trying to make is that it's unwise to make a deal at the barrel of a gun, then I completely agree. I certainly wish we could have negotiated these terms under even footing, but we all understand the stakes and we understand the situation under which this tentative arrangement was made. I had to pay the price for peace, or I was bargaining with all of your lives, including mine, and everyone else in the camp, not even UN personnel. They would have all been slaughtered, and this camp would have been razed to the ground.
I fully understand that, Colonel, and I know that your hand was forced at the time. And for the sake of it, it currently is too. The situation hasn't changed since they left.
Not one bit.
But I personally will not train a militia to fight a war that does not include us. By training this militia, it will include us.
I see. Question?
No, sir. A statement, sir.
Go ahead.
If I understand this correctly, militia demands our training and expertise to, well, suit them up for an upcoming war. Well, how do we know that this was not just a one-time show of, well, force, sir? If they are afraid of an upcoming war, I highly doubt that they will waste their resources in a bloody confrontation against trained military personnel, sir. I think they might just took a moment of weakness when few peacekeepers were available and try to make demands that you I completely agree with you. Had to agree within, but no offense, sir. Your honor is assured, but fucking hell, sir. Permission to speak freely.
Please do. It goes for the rest of you as well.
Looking into a gun barrel is it's completely okay to agree to anything that was demanded, but that doesn't mean we have to follow this promise, sir. That was bought by force. That doesn't mean anything, sir. So there would be no shame if we just say now, yeah, well, we agreed back then, but that doesn't mean anything because it threatened our lives. Sir, I highly doubt that they will waste their men and their weapons and their ammunition against us when there's a real enemy that is threatening them. We have no means against them, so why would they, throw away their lives? I would say let them come again and we give them a bloody nose, sir, so they know that, if then they go to war, they will lose it for sure.
I'm glad you're so gung-ho about going to the war with this group, with our remaining forces and our meager supplies, but I'm not willing to throw your life away or the life of any of your brothers or sisters in arms over this.
Well, sir, I highly doubt that they will attack us because, as you said, sir, they have the man and the weapon, but they don't have the training. A confrontation with us would lose them several of their resources, and with the loss of these resources would mean they lose the war. I highly doubt that they want to have a two-war side confrontation, sir. History shows how this kind of stuff goes, and I highly doubt that they are so stupid to, agree to a two-sided war.
Yeah, and you know that they have the other side to fight, for sure.
Yes, I mean, history shows how things turn out this way. They try to use the sign of weakness, sir, to get rid of this side, but
Corporal,
why should we agree to this promise, sir? They
I
will
just
not attack
interrupt.
us.
I appreciate the enthusiasm, but it still doesn't change the fact that we have no knowledge of the off-world people. They haven't approached us. All we have is two vague descriptions of people that we cannot trust. One side are people that forced your hand, Colonel, and second, a person that was at war with us. We have no idea if this forsake the off-world is even a true thing. If they're making it up and trying to force their hands for it. We have no knowledge or information about the off-world group to make our valid statements from them.
I see. That's Corporal Levi.
Seeing as I'm allowed to speak freely, this situation kind of reminds me of the same situation we had with the VDV in the CDF, and considering I was at camp with you, I would really prefer to not go through that again. I understand you made an agreement at the time, and they promised that they wouldn't attack us, but please do not make the same mistake of believing a group's word. I don't want that to happen to us again. I care about the civilians here, and I don't want the exact same thing to happen to me and you and all those civilians as what happened last time with the VDV and the CDF. I don't trust them, sir.
I see. Anyone else? Let me do the probably the last thing. Oh, Sergeant, something from you?
Nah, go ahead.
Let me do the absolute last thing that anyone in command of a military outfit should have any business doing, but we're down to our last remaining peacekeepers, little supplies, the mission is extremely difficult, and I need every man and woman on board if we're going to have any hope of success. It's clear to me that, as headstrong as I am about this particular topic, that I'm probably not going to make any headway in this particular argument. Training these people is going to lose me several people. I'll be lucky if I'm standing here with 2 people by the time it's all said and done. So let me ask for a show of hands, as democratic a solution as this is. If you are in favor of following through with this peace agreement that I've made to ensure our safety from the People's Liberation Army, I'd like a raise of hands if you're willing to see it through. And if you are in agreement with Major Holman that you are under no circumstances agreeing to see through with this treaty and are aware of the consequences of that and plan to see that through. Let me see your hands. Very well. I defer to Major Holman's opinion on this particular topic. I'll grit my teeth and bear it. Your lives are in my hands, but I'm sure you understand the consequences of these actions and are ready for the war that's surely headed to our doorstep as a result of it. Major Holman, I'll take care of any radio broadcasts that need to be done to make these people aware of our decision. Yes.
Alright. I'll do what I suggest and still have a talk with them.
I kind of feel like, sir, if I can speak freely, maybe there's a preferred option. Maybe there's a way to negotiate a different deal with this militia. I mean, I don't know what that would be, but I mean, surely there has to be something that we can do that avoids conflict and doesn't compromise our morals. Maybe if we could meet with them and speak with them on different terms, not at the point barrel of a gun.
The problem is the person who runs it. There's been statements of multiple people as being a psychopath, manipulating, beating children, taking men into the forest at gunpoint and having a quote-unquote word with them.
But aren't those just rumors? Do we have any proof of those
This
things?
was told by about, I think was it 13 or 11-year-old girl, Major Holman, saying that she was slapped by Uncle Seth. Another statement was that she took off her mask and she had a large bruise on her face from it. This man is a maniac for power. He collects people, he says things that will appeal to them. He takes people into the forest at gunpoint, the little girl said, and has a word. He even told her to point her own gun at them, but she didn't want to, so she ran away and he smacked her across the face.
I can confirm the statement that Capella just said. I was in the room when we spoke to this young girl at the time.
He
also...
Okay.
Apparently either Faye, his girlfriend, or him shot a body of a mentally ill person 6 times whilst in handcuffs. There are statements
I'm sorry
that
to interrupt you,
Seth...
Doctor, but we don't need the details.
What was that?
I do believe we don't need the details as of now, yeah? You just wanted to know if the
did someone
statement
just sent to the hospital?
Come again?
Somebody just walked into the hospital. It might have been a doctor, I'm not sure.
Captain Hawk will figure it out. This topic is far more important right now.
I mean, I didn't mean to be disrespectful. I mean, do we need the entire story?
You're going to make negotiations with a man who's going to want power. People who want power are going to try and get their way. If they're going to try and get their way, they're either going to want to murder you, to force your hand and then murder you to show that they have the power. no offense to you guys, but testosterone rises in the air, and you know, the whole alpha male kind of vibe comes around. That's kind of like Seth Black. He wants to be the alpha male of all of you, and if he can't, he'll kill you, so he is.
So we fight them? I mean, kind of seems jumping shark, really.
You train civilians that don't know how to shoot guns.
I wasn't saying train them. I was saying maybe there's another option to avoid conflict.
You either have... I doubt it. You either have civilians where you train them and you get shot afterwards.
Oh wait, that's okay.
Or you suffer from like the Iraqi war where...
yes sir. Ah, never mind. I didn't see you present at the beginning.
In the Iraqi war, the Muslims believe that spraying your gun around and then hitting the target, Allah was the one who provided you hitting the target.
Yes,
Not any training, they just spray the gun hoping they hit. They can do that, and luck can try and be on our side, or we can... From what I was told, Major Holman said Natasha wanted to train these people.
That is correct. Natasha did offer herself to train the People's Liberation Army instead of us, but for a fact it doesn't change. I will fully agree, and that is what I told Natasha.
Shidaki, apparently, from what I heard.
She was punching a wall before, so I wouldn't trust her with that, to be honest. I don't want to speak ill of her, but I don't want her training people with weapons either.
No. No matter who trains the civilians, we're still gonna face the same issue, no matter what. We then have a group of trained militia that could turn against us at any point. Yes, Adam?
Well, to sum it up, sir, as far as I understand it, our best bet is not to train them and hope actually that there's going to be a war between the outworld people and this militia, so they are busy killing each other and leave us in peace.
How many times have you seen these people in the camp? That's the question.
Again, you mentioned these off-world people, yet you don't know even if they exist.
Contact left!
Why you keep... Was that the little girl again?
Yes, sir.
Fucking... So sick of that. Somebody needs to have...
Relevancy, I'm not siding with Ripley right now, but he made an agreement that we train them, or he trained them, whatever. I don't care anymore. Have they even sent anyone down here to be trained?
The young girl, I think, ran this way, yeah.
They have not. Not yet.
No problem. I don't...
But we have every reason to believe that that's their intention.
Seriously.
Mr. Tony is the one who indicated that they're going to send small groups of individuals, possibly rotating on a weekly basis, for starting with basic, simple weapons training in terms of weapon safety handling, how to load a magazine safely, how to operate the safety, things like that, as well as physical training.
Might I add, if we're going to, like, actually fight them, if we want to buy time, if they do come to be trained, we could just say that we're going to start with physical training, because building their muscles isn't so much the problem, it's the problem of helping them work guns. As long as we don't do that straight away, then maybe we could buy some time to prepare by distracting them, if you would put it that way.
For who?
First it was K guy, and then some other guy who was, I guess, your officer.
They're perfectly blunt. Trained or not, they've got enough guns and people to come here and kill us if they want. I don't need to give anyone the impression that if we train them, they'll have the edge they need to just barely scrape out a win over us. Make no mistake, if we displease them, if they, on a whim, wake up and decide they don't like the color blue one day, they might just walk right through here and kill every single one of us. They've got the manpower and the firepower to accomplish that.
So even
Training
you
or not.
admit that they're probably going to murder us.
Even
So
I admit
what's
that
the
they
point even
can
making
murder us,
the
and therefore I have to
agreement?
prepare for that possibility.
Can, which is still agreeing, so what's the point even making an agreement with them, even if you have your own doubts?
It's like we said before, Colonel, we have no idea of when they will turn against us. Most likely they will.
Or if.
They came here for the sole purpose to force your hand.
Bearing in mind it took the CDF and official government a band of civilians with lots of guns. Just imagine what sort of chaos they can cause in a few days.
I mean, as far as I know, they came here with 20 plus people to, what, threaten 3 peacekeepers? They don't seem very brave, sir. No offense. Well, still,
Sergeant.
Being outnumbered 5 to 1 is not the story of, well, being a hero. Especially if you're on the side of the 5 to 1.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna give my 5 cents into this whole discussion. What I've noticed from the start, and I do believe I've approached you and Major and Captain there multiple times, and it has been the issue from the start. If anything, this unit has not been as successful as, well, as we hoped, I guess, when we deployed it. I mean, the question that we're discussing here of training these civilians to become armed combatants is ludicrous in my mind. Okay, I mean, no disrespect, sir, but that isn't, in my opinion, the biggest issue right now. The biggest issue is that this unit is falling apart, sir. I mean, look at ourselves. I mean, this is not working out. We're losing men every day, either it to be to desertion, injuries, or something even worse. I mean, the biggest issue is that, yes, sir, you come around, you make a decision that we have to deal with later on. You made a deal with these civilians, and once you leave for whatever reason that might be, go back to Miroslav, come back in 2 weeks. By that time, we have lost 50% of the personnel because these people attacked us because we didn't keep the promise that you gave to them. So, the biggest issue is that we're lacking of command. There's no structure. The structure is falling apart, sir. And that is the biggest issue we have. Us dealing with this camp that CDF has assigned us with a handful of men, we cannot control this. The amount of civilians that come through here, including the threat that we face every day and the issues we face every day, we cannot control this, sir. This is, I mean, I don't know. That just.
There we go. Well.
Your frustrations are noted. Lance Corporal letter.
Well, sir, I agree with my sergeant to a certain degree. Seeing that a more precise command structure would be appreciated, especially orders, sir, that are permanent and not always made up by the situation that is currently evolving. On the other hand, no offense, sir, I must slightly disagree with you. I feel that we recently gained some ground back, sir. The trust of the civilian population in us is growing. We're facing less and less hostile actions from, well, single civilians towards us. The insults decrease as far as I can tell. yes, there's still another armed group again trying to push us around, sir, but... Well, I don't feel that we're on a sinking ship, sir. Yes, we had some holds, some leaks, water's getting in, but... Fucking out, sir, we're still sailing. So, while I agree that we're here kind of on a dinner table presented for the hungry sharks to start eating us, but... Well, sir, we're still here. All we're asking for is... Give us orders, sir. And give us someone that we can ask in case we need orders. We're lacking lieutenants, sir.
Agreed. The vacancies in the officer positions is a ongoing concern. Every time I seem to promote someone, they either die or desert. It seems to be the mark of death, the kiss of death. Maybe that's why I've been holding off on it. Yes, Sergeant?
I would like you to fill in the entire unit about the Miroslav evacuation situation as well, so they would be notified. Because like I was today, maybe if they would know this, maybe this would change some of their mind.
Understood. Many of you seem to think that the world outside of Chernarus is relatively well intact and fairly normal, that resupply runs are still running and everything is relatively peaceful, but it's not my pleasure to inform you that that's not the case. The world is sick, people. The world is sick and it's dying. It needs help, urgently. The command issues you've noticed, the lack of the positions and command positions, is not unique to us. It's not unique to this particular outfit. Every military in the world, every branch of the UN, every mission that's currently in operation is experiencing the same difficulties. People are growing sick, people are losing faith and deserting their posts, and people are dying. Everywhere, every day. Make no mistake. Everyone's pushing through this as best they can. Some are faltering, others are pushing through it. Miroslav is no exception. As the sergeant just mentioned to you, I spent a week there about 2 weeks ago. I was, to be perfectly blunt, shocked by the condition of the place. I was expecting regular rotations of armed guards, large storerooms full of supplies, many vehicles, helicopters ready for missions, resupply missions. It's simply not the case. Most of their helicopters are destroyed or poorly maintained. Supplies are low, fuel is lower. They have a distinct lack of skilled helicopter pilots, and they're attempting to train anyone they can to make resupply missions and evacuation missions possible. Those helicopters that are operational are in operation almost all day, every day, around the clock. Simple extractions and resupply missions are extremely difficult to acquire. That's just through the UN. Through other channels, it's possible. Russian Defense Forces offered some help, but their skill and expertise as well as supplies is particularly limited. I'm sorry if this disheartens you, but the world's in a tough way. We can look at it two ways. We can get ready to throw in the towel and know that there's not much help coming. The cavalry is not just over the horizon. Or we can double down and recommit ourselves to our noble goal and try with everything we've got, everything in our body until we draw our last breath, to succeed in this mission and to ensure the success. I obviously don't need to remind you of the stakes, but I wish I could say that we have resupply ready, we've got reinforcements on the way, but look to your left and right. Well, what you see is what you get. We have to somehow accomplish this mission with what we've got. Lack of leadership, noted, but included. Lack of supplies, we'll need to scavenge and scrounge what we can. When I was young, I used to play cards. I used to like to win. My father used to beat the pants off me. He was, there was no bluffing my dad, I'll tell you what. And when I was younger, he would teach me how to play 5-card stud, and I'd get a crappy hand, and I would cry and cry until my cheeks were red. The old man would tell me to buck up, and he'd tell me, Jack, tell you what, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Sometimes in life, you get a shitty hand. I'm not here to give you new cards. You double down, you do the best you can with the cards you've got. Sometimes you're dealt a shit hand. but you've got to find a way to win with it. I don't know about any of you. You all signed up for this mission for your own personal reasons. I know the reason I did. For the people back home. I will continue this mission with my fingernails if I have to. Alone if I have to. I expect every one of you to stand true to your oaths and to this mission. But I will continue it at all costs, because the stakes are too high to give up, for any reason. Now that you know about the state of Marislaval and the outside world, and you know my stance on the topic, we've already agreed about the training, begrudgingly. It's not what I like, but I understand that's the majority, and that's what I'll go with. Does anyone else have anything to bring up or discuss? Any other questions or opinions? Now's the time to lay it on the table.
So, considering the current situation, are we planning to relocate or stay at this location?
If we are going to be continuing to research the Ground Zero, as it's been called up north, then we may need to consider resituating to
Colonel,
somewhere closer.
That's
I
not
will
a good idea.
strongly advise against anyone entering the area anymore. Even though that location might be the source of what is happening, if any more people that goes inside there, even with protective gear, will face radiation poisoning and possibly death. I know the importance of that location, but unless you want to risk every single person's lives that enters the area just to find a resolution.
Doctor, in your experience, what sort of, is there any equipment that we can acquire, any vaccinations or shots or medications we can provide to guard against radiation sickness, anything we can do to ensure safe missions into this location?
Major Holman mentioned a lead suit, but even then it's not worth the risk.
Colonel, it's for the sake that in radiation you have different types of radiation.
We read about...
We have alpha particles,
2.5,
beta particles, gamma and X-ray. Now, alpha and beta particles, you can quite successfully protect yourself against it with lead suits, as Capella mentioned. But if there is gamma particles or X-ray particles coming from the military base, those particles are near to impossible to protect yourselves from, and we don't have the equipment right now to find out which type it is.
Understood. There is a city to the northwest of here called Severograd. There's a large hospital there with plenty of supplies. Is there any value or...
There was shooting up there, multiple shots
it's a
in the
hotbed.
distance.
Well, perhaps that might make us think
I'm
twice
pretty
then.
sure I heard over one random broadcast that one Miss Rory is set up there, her own hospital. Actually, one had one in Journal.
Major, is it your opinion then that we should maintain our position in Bravo Hotel then? Or do you have some alternate suggestion?
In terms of where we're gonna start operating from?
Yes.
Or...
The question posed is if we were going to stay here, or if we were going to move to some other location. I'm trying to answer that question.
For the sake of it, Colonel, as of currently, to continue the research we have, with pretty much us not able to be going back to Ground Zero without facing possible death.
Ground Zero
I'm not sure if anyone else has an idea, but I have currently no idea where to possibly start or to continue our research.
The only thing that we have off this is a pipe that had a high reading on grey. There's a possible leakage there, but we can't confirm it, and I don't want to risk it.
Capella was the
There's a
only
metal
one.
grid.
Capella was the only one that went inside the pit and was close to the highest or the most radioactive part of the compound. And you see the current state she's in. If we were to continue researching in that area, every person would fall in the same state and possibly worse, depending on how long it takes to get answers.
Myself, Captain Hawk and Major Holman were approximately in 2 days about an hour and a half there, and these are symptoms we're suffering.
Understood. Well, if that's not an option, then does anyone among you, anyone here, have any alternate suggestions besides maintaining our position here in Bravo Hotel? Any alternate locations? Any reason we shouldn't remain here? Go ahead. Speak freely.
Go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. It's your well, honor to
No.
speak first, sir.
No, go ahead.
Well, sir, from a strategic point of view, I understand the concerns of the sergeant, but I would like to point out that, yes, while our main mission here is to support the research of the WHO, another mission is the humanitarian aid effort, and, well, past experience showed that the sudden relocation of a camp always led to, well, concerns in the civilian population. So as far as that people feel betrayed by us, people feel left behind by us. As I said, part of the regaining ground, sir, I feel that we recently gained some ground simply because people start to trust us again. All those who want to harm us, like in the previous encampment near this village of Cabanino, they just forgot us, sir. So I'm afraid if we move right now and leave again the people who support us, like Dr. Elizabeth, for example, behind, they would lose their last piece of hope towards us, sir. So I would vote to stay here, sir.
I have to say, I agree with Lance
We have
Corporal
murderers who know where we are. We have people that basically tell us to, quote-unquote, kill the cunts. We have people who tell us to go and, quote-unquote, fuck ourselves.
Well, ma'am, but this is nothing new. This happened to us before, and to be completely honest, at every other location it happens more often than here, ma'am. I think the relocation of...
Quite frankly, I'm sick to death of sitting down or actually taking a break after doing the best I can, okay, to be told I'm not doing my job. And even when I'm suffering from what may be radiation poisoning, I'm still told I don't do my job.
Well, by whom, then, if I might ask?
Did any of you say that? Who said that?
There's many civilians in the camp that just go around bragging how the UN don't do any work. Personally,
correct,
it's
yes, the civilians will
demoralizing
talk.
for me.
Well, ma'am, these kinds of civilians should be kicked out of the camp, no doubt about that. We are not a refugee camp,
These
ma'am.
kinds of civilians are starting to push me to the point where I'm going to shove them in the lab myself, lock them in there and see what I have to deal with, and then they can complain about how I have to go through something if that's how they want to bitch about it. That's the point I'm getting. I cut up dead people, and these dead people don't have what normal dead people have. I go in a well, I go in a pit that has radiation more than what you guys suffer. It's like a big fuck you, Capella. And yeah, I'm still trying. We're all still trying, and yet we're told that we're not doing our best. I'm sorry, did they have poisoning right now? No.
Ma'am, I can just repeat myself. I'm not sure who you're referring to. Anyone who insults your courage and, well, your work, that is obviously, and everyone who knows that, is outstanding and beyond any call of duty, ma'am. as I said, please, anytime someone doubts your work, feel free to notice me and, well, excuse me, sir, but I will this person kick myself in the nuts. Or whatever other genital this person might have. And I think I speak for every UN peacekeeper on this line right now, ma'am.
Levi.
Honestly, I believe the only way if we want to stop the WHO getting harassed is to move to a secret location and to either abandon the humanitarian aid or have two separate bases, but we don't have the men, we can't abandon the mission, so really I do not think there's any way to make everyone happy. So I vote to just stay in this location. I don't think it's possible to sort this out. It's honestly a problem I think is impossible.
Agreed. We cannot abandon the mission. Major.
Even if the NATO forces and the CDF forces, for sake, is supposed to help us in this encampment, their presence is lackluster, to say the least. Whenever I see NATO personnel, they stay here for probably an hour, then run off and do whatever they do. And I haven't seen CDF personnel for closer to a week.
Yeah, the last time the NATO were here, they spent about 20 minutes of the time, which was all that most of the time they were here, they were just flirting with the females. That's literally, honestly, the only thing they were doing. Just trying to get some,
So not only our concern is flirting with females to get, well, they're obviously hoo-ha wet, but they also, from what I heard Holman say, do something off the books, whatever that means. And then we also have people wearing white armbands. Basically made Ripley suck their own hoo-ha. And from what we gather...
to make it perfectly clear, what... is it Captain Banks, Colonel? From the NATO forces?
Yes.
You were there when you said this to me, that he wanted to make an example out of Capella for saying that she quit.
Yes.
Now this person is supposed to be the leading man of our main ally. For saying a group that has destroyed their reputation with us.
What do you mean?
He said he wanted to make an example
of rebuild it, and he destroys this within a day.
I believe he said he also wanted to smack her around.
Smack her around? Is that what fucking Captain Banks sold?
I believe that's what he said. He wanted to make an example of her, to make her agree to come back and serve as a warning to anyone else who was thinking of deserting our ranks.
Oh,
this was.
Well, next time I see him around, I'm gonna fucking whoop his ass around this campment.
May I remind you, Hawk, of our our rules of engagement?
Aye, I do know the rule, but beating a woman?
Nobody beat a woman.
For the sake
simply suggested it.
For the sake of beating anyone when it's not needed.
How the fuck are we supposed to trust these guys? Whatsoever, considering what the NATO has fucking done to us.
Captain Banks in charge, they're basically, we cannot trust them. We can't put our lives in their hand. We can't trust them with our mission. They're good to have around if we're in dire need, but I think I'm speaking for all of us when I say that they certainly don't adhere to our mission, our values, or our principles. Sergeant?
Yeah, my question is to Dr. Capella. Considering what you guys researched and found out so far, my question is there any way to further the research as of now, or is it on standstill?
Until I get well. I have about 15 more organs to do. I have tissue samples, urine samples, feces samples that all need to be tested at the Miroslav lab, and from what Ripley told me, I I don't know if these samples are even going to be...
Colonel, is even Miroslav
Seen to.
able to conduct the research anymore that we can provide them?
They do still have some World Health Organization researchers, and most of the equipment that they're low on is things like ammunition, food, mechanical equipment, vehicle parts, fuel. They still do have skilled medical personnel and the medical and scientific instruments that are necessary to analyze data. If we were able to provide them with data or samples or anything of that sort, then they could probably do good with it.
I requested more researchers briefed on a few situations going on. I didn't get a clear enough transmission from them. Something about detaining. It was all just static mainly. Nothing really I could make out as sentences. It's kind of worrying me that from when you arrived here, if maybe things had gone worse.
Also, another question concerning Dr. Capella's and Captain Hawk's positions in the respected, I guess, organizations and units. I'm still kind of confused. Have you stepped out of the organizations, or what's the status? I mean, I'm kind of confused. Can you maybe clarify on that?
I'm sure, Mr. Klein, this will be clarified when we're gonna have a more of a private talk with the Colonel, hey?
I agree on what Casper says. Basically, we didn't agree at all with Ripley, and I'm gonna be honest. Oh, God. I'm gonna be honest. He's your colonel, and myself, I am a doctor. I have my own moralities, and I didn't agree with him whatsoever. Obviously, he's your colonel, and you have to follow orders. I don't know military stuff. That's that's not my strong point. I didn't join the military, so I don't know. But from what I heard you guys say, you agreed more with Major Holman, and it shed some light that you guys have that moral compass, I guess. Like agree to disagree and so on and so forth, and I'd like to discuss with Ripley on the situation, if that's okay with him.
You know me, always an open door. It's just that you may have to be in a line of about 15 people before you get through it. I'm sure we'll get to the bottom of it. I'm afraid we're gonna have to wrap this debrief up. I've got 6 minutes until a scheduled radio appointment with UN Command, so with the last 5 minutes, any final pressing concerns, anything that needs to be said? I'll be available, obviously, but now's the time to get it out, so... Alright, if that's it, then I thank you all for your attendance and for your honesty. Obviously, we'll all need to work together to get through this, so obviously the command structure is important, but I value each and every one of your opinions and your input on this mission. I cannot accomplish this without every single one of you. You're indispensable. Thank you for your good work and for your commitment to this mission.
Attention!
Dismissed.
Thank you very much, sir.